I'm now going to call the Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 meeting of the Norfolk County Commission to order. On Wednesday, March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act making appropriations for fiscal year 2023, which included a 2-year extension of the option for public bodies to hold remote meetings by suspending certain provisions of the Mass Open Meeting Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. That action was effective immediately, extending the current option for remote meetings through March 31st, 2025, fast approaching. So we're live and remote today. If you'll all stand and join me in saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll call the roll. Commissioner Stady.
I am present, sir.
Commissioner Shea is present. We have a quorum. We're ready to go today. Director Cronin will not be with us today, so substituting in the big chair will be Assistant Director Bill Buckley.
My God, it's a big chair.
That's a good point. Number 3, no executive session.
That's correct, sir.
Number 4, minutes of the open meeting of February 19th, both open meeting and executive session for approval.
Can we vote those?
The 19th, no.
Was Joe present? Wasn't Joe away
When you vote for minutes, you just attest that the record keeping is correct. That's all you're doing. You don't
Okay.
physically be present.
All right, I move
And these were tabled last.
We're one-
Okay, I move approval of the February 19th meeting minutes as presented.
All in favor? Aye. It is a vote. Next.
I move approval of the executive session of February 19th as presented with stipulation not to be released until such time as the chair so declares.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Number 5 is appointments. We have a couple. No, I don't think so. We're gonna,
They're later on the agenda.
they're related to the agenda. Okay, I'll take care of it. No appointments. We'll go to number 6. Public comment. Every week we have a session at our meeting for public comment. Allows anyone to come in and speak to us on any subject. And if there's anyone in Zoom land that would like to speak, now is the time. Director Buckley, has you had anyone that wants to?
No.
Okay. Old business, we have none. Personnel matters for consideration. We have several. I might say at the outset, they're all at the golf course. Where we might be a week away from opening. We might be 2 weeks. It's going to depend on the sun. But everyone's working hard to get presidents up and ready to go. There is some more further personnel changes coming, but hopefully they'll be before us next week. But this is a list of some veteran part-timers that need to come back to get the golf course open.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission,
Right.
I'm going to divide them into 2 groups.
Sure.
One is a rehire, the other one's contingent employment. As noted, they're all at the golf course and they're all for seasonal golf associate appointment. So I'll move the following group of individuals for rehire at the Wallaston Golf Course, Wallaston Recreational Facility for seasonal golf associates at the rate stated and with the effective date for all of these people, individuals at 3/10/25. Number 1, James Fitzroy of Plainville, Mass. Number 2, Georgianne Wallace of Quincy, Mass. Number 3, Michael Smith of Weymouth, Mass. Number 4, Jacqueline O'Rourke of Quincy, Mass. Number 5, Brian Foley of Quincy, Mass. Number 6, Sabrina Ty of Holbrook, Mass. And number 7, Kelly O'Toole of Quincy, Mass. All to be seasonal golf associates at the rate stated 3/10/25. So moved.
I will second it, and I might make a couple of notes when you talk about longevity in people. Now, these are 2 of the people at the top here. Jim Fitzroy, of course, is a former superintendent who returned to us a couple of years ago because I think he got bored in retirement. Well, he's invaluable. And Georgianne Wallace is a 30-year employee.
I got to meet her. I haven't had the pleasure. Both
Yeah,
to meet
she's
her.
there, and she's
I know Jim. I know
upstairs,
Jim.
and she's been there for 30 years.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's a
Fantastic.
part-time deal, and these other people I don't know, but On 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next,
The other
Last
two,
two.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of contingent employment as seasonal golf associates for Christine Ryan of Quincy and Marianne Conroy of Braintree at the rate stated effective date 3/10/25. So moved.
I'll second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Thank you. Payroll and expense warrants for approval.
All right, Mr. Chairman, move the following for approval. We have 4 items on the warrant. First item, the county expense warrant of 3/1/25, move the sum $77,381.42. So moved.
I'll second that, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
The Aggie School, first item, move approval of the Aggie expense warrant for 25-09, move the sum $158,981.68. So moved.
I'll second that. And motion, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next.
Next, at the Aggie again for payroll number 25-23, subsection 18, moves the sum of $395,785.58. So moved.
Motion, I'll second it. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
And final item for the warrant this week, move the county payroll 25-35, moves the sum $142,233.30. So moved.
I'll second it. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
That concludes the warrant, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Number 11, first ARPA transfer request for approval from Town of Dover. Since this is a first, Director Buckley, why don't you explain this?
We are so close to being ready for prime time, but we once more are not. This week, we're trying to be very responsive to the town of Dover. As you know, Dover was the first community to receive an ARPA grant from this board. They will probably be the first to do a transfer from this board. As we have talked about sort of at length, because of the December 31st deadline for obligation, we're now into a transfer phase, and that requires a heightened level of tracking of where these funds are going and where they're coming from. The town of Dover is transferring money from one existing application, which was a sewer and water application, where they had $49,000 remaining. They were able, prior to the deadline, to put in an over allotment application for the same amount for a culvert project. There's been a lot of water issues in Dover. I believe our engineering department did some survey work for them. They had some flooding around there. DPW as well. So a lot of these projects are connected. And so we've developed over the last few weeks, working with the other counties and CLA, a transfer form to track this. So the form was completed last week. We sent it over to Dover. Unfortunately, much like here at the county, a number of people are ill, a number of people are out. So they haven't gotten us the form back. So we just put this on. We'll put it on next week as well to make sure we get it to them in a timely fashion. They want to get started with the construction process and they need
Okay,
those funds.
so we're waiting on the paperwork.
So yeah,
As soon as we
no
get
action.
it, we'll take action.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
any
this
questions?
is, yeah, real quick.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
this
want to
money-
explain. We've never done
I know, this is new. So the money was already appropriated to
You
Dover.
You voted for this project already.
Right, but that money they want to use now for something else because the project came in under
Under
what they
budget,
thought?
correct.
Under, okay.
And now
I
this
see.
other project,
Right.
you also approved
Okay,
as an over allotment application. So we
Okay.
felt that you should take a secondary affirmative vote to go from that one
Okay.
approved project to a second.
okay, and it was all done before December 24th, 30th.
And so but to anticipate your question, in future months, we may have something from Holbrook. They may have because they couldn't expend them. And that money may be transferred to Bellingham because they put it in.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
So we'll use this form as
We're
well.
not there yet, but,
Right. We will use the same form and process for that. It
Mhm.
just so happens that with Dover, it's going between two Dover applications.
but to use any money, towns had to have put something in.
Correct.
Again, okay,
Yeah.
that's what Charlie
And-
asked me last night.
Right. So
about that.
if
Okay.
you had an overage,
Okay.
if you're a community that didn't, you're unfortunately out of luck. So, but we will be documenting that we're taking it from one application
Okay,
and moving it to the other.
I get it. Okay, thank you.
Not a lot of these, but
Yeah.
they'll be periodic for sure.
Thanks, Mr.
So
Chairman.
is it okay to say that Dover deserves a little, how do you do? Because they read the small print and figured this out?
Yeah, Carl Valenti, who's their interim finance director now, he was their interim town manager, has been tremendous to work with, and Mona over in the select board's office has been great
Okay.
as well. So we've worked closely with them, but as I said, they were the first to have an application in, and now they're the first for transfers.
On the ball.
Right out of the
All
gate.
right.
Okay, well, as soon as we see it, we'll push it ahead, right?
Excellent.
You
Yep.
want a motion to table that to next week?
Yes.
I move we table the opera transfer request from Dover to next week, Mr. Chairman.
Number 11, letter of support from the commission.
Yeah, vote it, vote it.
For
I made a
Randolph
motion.
Community
I made a
Development.
motion to table, you got
I'm sorry, motion to table the transfer request from the town of Dover for opera money. All in favor?
aye.
We'll put that on hold. Number 11, letter of support for Town of Randolph Community Development Block Grant. Commissioner, I have a letter here to Secretary Ed Augustus, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, 100 Cambridge Street, regarding Town of Randolph fiscal year CDBG application. The town has asked us to write this letter to Secretary Augustus.
Okay, we need a vote on that?
Go
Or?
ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
We do need a
So we
vote.
did have a request from the community of Randolph. They are in a competitive grant process for a CDBG grant. All these acronyms have changed since the changeover from the governor's administration. Housing and Livable Communities used to be DHCD, I think.
It has a new title.
It's had a new
It
title
caught
as
me
well,
off
so
guard.
it threw us all for a loop a bit, but they had reached out. They've been able to get this grant in FY 21, 22, 23, and 24. They thought, rightfully so, that the more stakeholders and elected officials who can weigh in and support of this community grant process will be helpful. So they sent us over this form. We tweaked it a little to talk about the county, and thank you.
Yeah.
And so we have it before you now. It's done some great work. They've been able to do 8 rehabilitation projects in 24, and they hope to do the same amount in 25.
Excellent.
Okay.
They did it before.
Right.
They've done-
This will be their
Okay.
6th year.
Wow.
Hopefully, receiving the grant.
And who else, I'm just curious, who else would they get support from? The state reps? they
State
said
rep,
this?
select board, probably, the city town council with Randolph's case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what they
Yeah.
do is they'll put all those letters of support together in the application and send it in.
Okay. Excellent.
So if you are amenable, we'll send this over to Randolph today
Mhm.
after a vote to send the letter.
I'll take a motion.
Yeah, who's the applicant? Is it the town of
Town
Randolph?
of Randolph.
Is it the town manager or the council itself?
I believe it's their housing authority.
Oh, the house, that's what I would ask it.
Yeah.
So it's housing. So they would get the town council approval too, would they?
Yeah, that's everybody.
Okay, all right. So I move, Mr. Chairman, that the county commissioners of Norfolk support the application of the town of Randolph fiscal 25 CDBG application as outlined in the letter. And I'll move it.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll wait. Time, can you get a stamp for Peter, or do you want to wait? Have him sign and get it out of
Get
it?
it out, stamp it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll speak to Commissioner.
We'll get Commissioner Collins to sign it, of course. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 12, RSVP American Core Week proclamation. Is this American Core Week? Director,
Next
come
week.
on up.
Next week, right? Next
Okay.
week?
I don't know that John and John from the college have met Lucille Cassis
Hello.
from
Hi, everyone.
agricultural school, not the college,
Hi,
and Bill Mullen.
nice to meet you.
Everyone knows Chris.
I'm Lucille, the new.
Lucille is now, Bob is gone, Robert retired, and Lucille is the director of RSVP. Go ahead, Lucille, tell us
Okay.
about.
Thank you, commissioners, for the time. So next week is AmeriCorps Week, March 9th through the 15th, 2025. So AmeriCorps is sort of the parent of RSVP at the national level. And
That's it.
they guide us and offer us our grant every 3 years to operate the program. So next week, they do this annually. The theme is bringing out the best of America. And as you know, AmeriCorps Seniors RSVP program pairs thousands of Americans aged 55 and older with organizations making change in communities across the country. AmeriCorps senior volunteers who serve in our RSVP program choose how, where, and when they want to serve. and commitments range from a few hours to 40 hours a week. You can find any opportunities with thousands of organizations that they work with, including Norfolk County, RSVP, and be of service at the local regional level. AmeriCorps senior volunteers report better health and longevity having served their community. So with that said, just a few local facts. We have 200 volunteers with the Norfolk County RSVP, and 10% of those have a second position as well. And last week, we just noted that we added 3 new drivers in the month of February for our Rides for Vets program.
Beautiful.
So we're doing really well, but we always need drivers. So if anyone is interested, please give us a call here at the County of Norfolk and ask for the RSVP office. We'd be happy to explain to you what's involved in Rides for Vets. Really, really important. But today, I would just like to have the commissioners read a proclamation designating next week as AmeriCorps Week, and that we're celebrating along with the folks at the national level of volunteerism in our country. So that said, if one of you would like to do that,
I'm
and then I
going
can
to
take a
Commissioner
picture.
Stady since I passed him my copy.
Okay,
Commissioner,
I hope my voice in that last is still not 100%, but I'll give it a shot. I'm going to move the approval of the proclamation declaring AmeriCorps Week 2025 in Norfolk County. It's a lot of whereases. We'll give it a shot. Whereas more than 30 years ago, Congress established AmeriCorps, formerly the Corporation for National and Community Service, to unite national service programs under one agency, create service opportunities that strengthen communities, and expand pathways to education, careers, and civic participation for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps is America's smart investment in local communities where public dollars leverage private contributions to support locally led, data-driven solutions to urgent needs. And whereas AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Seniors programs provide opportunities for 200,000 Americans annually to serve their country through service at nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based organizations across the country. And whereas national service represents a robust public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps Senior programs within Norfolk County strengthen bridge building skills by bringing people together from different backgrounds, generations, and geographic locations to address critical issues facing the country, forge relationships, cultivate mutual respect, and help build resilient and thriving communities. And whereas volunteering prepares AmeriCorps members for future careers and improves the mental well-being of AmeriCorps senior volunteers, and their commitment to service reflects the dedication and patriotism of those who serve. And whereas through their service, AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps seniors volunteers improve the lives of their families, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement in Norfolk County as a whole. And whereas AmeriCorps Week is an opportunity to recognize the dedication and commitment of the AmeriCorps members and volunteers who serve each year, the nearly 1.3 million AmeriCorps alumni and millions of AmeriCorps senior volunteers and their community partners, as well as to encourage more Americans to follow their footsteps in service. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Norfolk County Commissioners, do hereby designate the second week of March 2025 as AmeriCorps Week in Norfolk County, and we urge citizens to thank AmeriCorps members and alumni and AmeriCorps senior volunteers for their service and to find their own ways to give back to their communities. This petition and proclamation having been signed and will be signed by Joseph Shea, Chair, Peter Collins, and myself as County Commissioners.
perfect.
All right.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will adopt that, and whatever you do to get us some publicity, we'll see.
Absolutely. Thank you very
Say you
much.
wanted a
I took-
photo.
I would like to stage a photo after the meeting,
Okay,
after
yeah,
you
fine.
finish your business.
Sure.
But
Wonderful.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Have a
Thank
good
you, Chris.
afternoon.
We're all set.
Well, you're not done yet. You're coming
No, we
back
got
to your budget, right?
No,
Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
sing. Shoot.
Okay, whatever. Okay,
You can sing.
that's fine.
not today,
All
right?
right.
Lucille's today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
regional services.
Oh,
Not me, right?
Oh, you don't, yeah, you're not presenting.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Lucille.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we have procurement department.
yep,
Bid openings and
Maureen.
Contract awards.
Hi, Maureen.
Good afternoon, all.
How we doing?
Maureen, Director of Procurement. What do we have here?
We have two contracts ready to be signed if you agree. The first one is for the lease of our tennis courts at Wollaston Rec for a tennis pro who comes in and gives lessons.
Oh, I love this.
So this is familiar
I
and an easy
I
one to
gotta tell
sign.
you a story.
Oh, do tell.
When I first came here about 8 years ago, maybe it was 9, things were cooking at the course. And the Patriot Ledger called me for some comments. Because there was some complaints that the courts were always busy, and I said, well, I think that's good. And delved into it, thought I was being a good doobie, and I found out that the person who was complaining was the person who was there teaching people, and he wasn't he wasn't paying us anything. We were supplying the courts and everything, and I get caught a little bit, and I looked into it. So if it's taken that long to formalize this, I'm not sure. I'm happy that we're doing it.
Yep.
So we
Carl Miner came to us this year with it
Good,
early, so
good.
we're in good shape.
Okay.
And this is a re-up.
this is a re-up. Okay,
We did it a
we
couple of years
did we
ago.
did repair it a
I
few
remember
years
that.
ago.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
okay.
Mhm.
But it was always a stickler because
Yeah.
here I am
Mhm.
misquoting to the Patriot Ledger because I didn't know that.
And
I
he
thought-
supplied us with a
Yeah, well, he-
certificate of insurance with.
I think we changed vendors, but
Yeah.
just more further. All right.
That's right, Mr.
Any
Chairman.
questions? We're ready to go. It's
No,
re-
I make the motion, right? That's the
Yes.
motion. I'll move we approve the agreement dated this date between Matthew K. of Braintree and the tennis pro and the Norfolk County Commissioners as the other party in the agreement for the use of the tennis court at the Wollaston Recreation Facility and with the terms as outlined herein and dated this date. So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Second part of this
Why is your signature-
today is grounds master lease.
Right, so
Maureen, tell
also
us
from-
about that.
Also from Carl Miner, there's some equipment they will be leasing, very expensive equipment for groundskeeping. And they put together a beautiful lease with PNC Bank, similar to one we saw last week. And so we need that signed by the commission if possible, in many, many places, so. Do it at the end if you'd like, it's a little.
Can't stamp this, huh? Yeah.
No, this is well, mostly Joe has to do, Commissioner Shea chair has to do all the work on this one
All right.
primarily.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission,
Yes.
I move the approval of the Top Products lease financed by PNC Bank for the terms outlined here for the lease of the Groundmaster 4500, Multi-Pro 5800, GM 4500, and plow for 5 years, all in accordance with the Mass State Contract FAC 116 pricing. The terms are outlined. It's for a period of 5 years. So moved.
How much is the lawnmower? Or how many?
It says here, yearly payments
Yeah,
34,537 for 5 years, though.
I know.
Okay.
And this is off the state bid, so.
Right,
Yes.
off the state bid.
Mhm.
Total amount is 172,000.
Okay, well, we need this equipment badly. Today's golf course day, and I think next week will be too, but it is the season.
Mhm.
Get these right over here. Mr. Chairman, I moved it, if the second, I guess, or voted or something.
I'll second the motion.
Those are for the chair,
There were
right?
some.
Those are that the chair
some-
signs.
Yes, chair only. Was there one more in there for you? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. Let's see. That looks like chair, and this is chair.
Very good.
All right?
Thank you.
So, top two of everybody, the others are Joe. Motion's been made, Mr.
And I'll
Chairman.
second it. All in favor?
All right?
And we're gonna sign these and.
Yeah.
I don't know what the time, how long does it take to get this equipment here? Do we know, Maureen?
I'm not sure. Once we have that, we can issue the PO and
Okay.
get it moving.
Thank you for that.
Anything else for procurement today?
We'll have some things coming up in the near future.
Okay,
We're
let me
working on
sign all
some
these.
quotes for some office furniture and identity storage units and in the process. But under $10,000, so no concerns.
Sign away, sign away, sign away all. Here we go.
Mr. Chairman, while you're doing that, if you want, we can transition into the next agenda item being our budget presentations.
Okay, we'll be right with you. March 5th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Time flies. How's our golf course lawnmower? Is it working? Should we get one for the golf? Should we get one for the school while we're doing this?
We have our equipment
Have horses that can eat the grass for you, right?
paid. Yeah, but in their little paddocks, not
Darn.
free ranging.
Like the idea.
Coffee today.
You know what?
This page here says signature of secretary clerk.
Right, I'm gonna take that down to.
Take that down, Superior Court, now
Yes, sir.
book you right up. Okay, I almost signed it by mistake, no problem.
Mhm.
Is some of that furniture for the, that new office we're gonna be creating over the Yankee School?
Not yet. This is
I wonder
for,
about that.
woman that was just here is taking over for Robert and also my own office.
Oh, you're upgrading, huh?
For the director.
Wow, all right, okay.
We'll
Well,
have to
perks.
put my nice old desk on the surplus list if anyone would like it,
There you go.
would like to
We
move
might
it.
not move far.
Oh, okay. Well, good to keep tabs. But that is in the works, right? Because we want to get that other
Yes.
place set up.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, okay. Okay, I'm sorry to hold you up, but it's good to do all this. And important to get a lawnmowers.
Great.
Thank you,
Mr.
thank you,
Chair.
Maureen. This
Thank
concludes
you, commissioners.
the
Thank you.
procurement department for today. Number 14, fiscal year 26 budget presentations. We have 3 today. We're gonna start with the Norfolk Agricultural School. So I'm gonna have the Johns come up to the table. And
Joe.
off we go.
Can I ask a question, Joe?
Direct them, yes.
Is this the order that makes the most sense? Because I just want to do the order that makes the most sense, you know, if
You
somebody
want,
else is.
you
gonna-
want us to,
Well, I just want to be as considerate of the two other parties as
I was gonna
possible.
say,
Somebody
Excellent.
else is
Excellent.
going to be 5 minutes.
all right, should we go?
Somebody else is going to be 5 minutes. Why don't we let them go?
Do you mind?
Let's go to, no, if you don't mind, that's a very good suggestion.
Yes, I'm implying.
I don't
we're
know
gonna
about
be
that.
longer.
Number 3,
I said
regional,
that the wrong way, I guess.
no,
Thank
that's
you, I was
good.
wondering
Regional
that.
Services, Bill Mullen,
That's awesome.
our
thank you.
sealer of weights and measures.
Chair.
Okay, you have your budget book,
You have your budget book?
Commissioner?
Yeah. Hi, Bill. How you doing, Bill? I'm well. How are you? Good.
Tab
Bill.
6 is regional services, which is RSVP and weights and measures.
What tab is it? You know what tab?
6.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
So, spoiler alert, we're pretty much level funded. We've not augmented the salaries, as you know, because we'll do that later on. And we continue to, we have 2 FTEs in weights and measures. We have 2 FTEs in in RSVP. Obviously, there was a director change at the top of the RSVP program underneath the regional services umbrella. We've left the for both both programs. We have kept their expenditures the same, $50,000 in total, 30 for RSVP, which is flat, 20 for weights and measures. This is a very brief overview. Weights and measures, we're doing Canton, Franklin, Needham, Westwood, and Rentham. currently, the town of Dedham, our sixth community, has put funding in their FY26 budget to have us fully onboard them. Director Mullen just got back from the Sealers Conference. We have good leads on two other medium to large sized towns in the eastern part of the county who may be looking for additional sealing services, which we may be able to actualize within FY26, as well as we will be meeting this month, we hope, or perhaps early next month, with the Division of Standards to talk about the four smaller communities that the state does their sealing for them. Avon, Dover, Plainville, and Norfolk.
Oh,
All of those towns are on one-year contracts with the state. Two of them have expressed interest to us at the end of the year that they'd like to join us. Dover has 3 places. It can be sealed in an afternoon. But they had re-upped with the state, but we understand with the changing workload of the state, we're excited to have a dialogue about possibly taking that off of their plate, much like the town of Barnstable does for the smaller communities around it in the center of the Cape. So while we can't project which of those we will land, we are very confident that Dedham will join us. We are proposing an annual fee of $30,000 for Dedham. The reason you may ask, Dedham is so much larger than their fee than many other communities is they have how many oil trucks, Bill? 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a very large amount of oil trucks, which is a much more, number one, expensive inspection, but also a larger amount of work to do. So as I said, we're keeping our budget the same. Last year's weights and measures expenditure had the funds for outfitting and rigging a second person. While those funds don't need to be used this year, we assume with additional towns, there'll be higher gas bills. So that's why we left those 2 line items in Group 8 level funded. On the RSVP program side, we continue to watch closely with their staff, the developments of the federal government. Obviously, it is partially grant funded. It's a day-to-day situation there. But in the meantime, Lucille's off and running. She's already looking at efficiencies, looking at the ways in which we do things as a department there, and to see if there may be within FY26 some things we can tinker with so that when we're back here a year from now, their budget number may be a little different. We may be breaking things up in a different fashion, but she's been here 4 days and is already looking at all sorts of things like that. So that's the overview of where we are. They did ask us to put capital requests. There are no capital requests or RSVP weights and measures. We did have 3 ARPA requests, a 50-gallon oil prover, an additional Ford Maverick, and perhaps a 50-gallon high-speed prover with additional Seraphim test measures. All of these things are we had put them in it as a possibility for ARPA, but we would not seek to move forward with capital requests until some of the larger communities came online, and if and when capital money would be available. So they're I would characterize them as moderate term capital requests. But as we get bigger, there are some great pieces of equipment, which we won't belabor with you, that you can kind of pull up to a gas station and do a bunch of pumps in rapid succession instead of using a 5-gallon prover. And with efficiency comes the ability to serve more communities, which gives us the ability to widen the county's footprint.
so put it in. Let us know what it is.
No, there is. So
Oh,
it's in there. So
Where?
it's the 4th page of our memo. So weights and measures program, so 50-gallon oil prover. So we put all these in as ARPA requests as well.
Okay.
But that kind of gives you, we would not buy them until at least Dedham comes on. But
Okay, so if I may, Mr.
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
so we have 5 towns right now, right? Definitely 5. And Dedham, you said is going to be on board.
we're their budget.
They're
right
pretty
now.
much in. So we're going to have 6. And then you're proposing or suggesting we may pick up a couple of mid-sized towns and smaller communities.
Yes.
So it's possible we could be up to 10.
We could be up to 10. But
We could be.
next year. Possibly.
And that's for fiscal 26?
At the end. Yes.
At the end? So do we have enough staff and equipment to handle up to 10 towns? Or are we going to have to,
I would believe so, yes.
you would think so? Okay,
Especially some of the smaller ones that just,
okay, okay. All right. That's comforting.
We're really excited about that discussion with the state because these communities really don't care who does it either way. We think we can do it for a little cheaper for them.
Yeah,
And also, because the state's so large, a lot of times if a complaint happens, you might have to talk to 3 people and be bouncing around for 3 or 4 days for a citizen in Dover or Avon. Whereas with our program, where Bill's turning around on average 24 hours investigating complaints on devices. So there's a lot of very positive constituent feedback there. So we think it would be a good win for everyone. We're hopeful about that dialogue.
Good. May I ask one more question? You brought it up. I didn't know, we segued
I got one
into
too. Go ahead.
RSVP.
That's
Right,
also
yeah.
in Lloyd's.
So,
That's in
yeah.
regional services.
So on RSVP, I remember Bob Pearson at his last appearance several times made a plea that we try to consider increasing the budget to accommodate some extra either mileage or something for the Ride a Vet program, which is so valuable.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I don't want to let that go. I really would, because I know myself, I had said I would have loved to have seen the part-time vet agent that we used to have back in to help out our town. When I go out and I meet with these veteran agents in different towns, I mean, you always hear how great that was to have that person to step in. Now, we don't have that. I know that.
Mhm.
But I'd like to see more service for our vets. So if there's some way that we can incorporate more services, as Bob was suggesting, I'm all for it. I am. I'm all for it. So,
On that note, it's important to kind of, in a general way, talk about, because it's under the regional services umbrella.
yeah,
We had dialogues with Rentham and Plainville had difficulty. They were in a consortium with Rentham, Plainville, and North Attleboro,
yeah.
and in which they were sort of the junior partners.
Huh.
They were initially looking to do something, but that need didn't materialize. We had dialogues with Milton as well. They have a very small FTE in Milton.
He's retiring.
Right. So,
You know
so we've
that?
been talking with.
Okay.
So we haven't lost sight of that veterans piece.
Hmm.
I think obviously the rides for vets, which grew this month, which is great,
Right.
it is the vestige of that. But we continue to have dialogues with the managers to see if there's a place where we could recreate through in a municipal agreement something similar to what we had with Franklin and Avon.
Okay, good.
But they're very iterative, right? Like,
Yeah.
so towns get together. Walpole was standalone, then Walpole joined Walpole Medfield. Now it's Walpole Medfield Sherburne. So these towns kind of in a lot of these.
Well, he serves Randolph and Milton currently somehow.
Yes,
So he's retiring too. He's leaving.
you have to
so-
be. You have to be without a waiver. They have to be geographically contiguous.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's how like Norfolk, North
Yeah.
Attleboro,
I see.
Plainville, and Rentham got together.
Now, could we do something with North Attleboro? They're not in Norfolk
No.
County. They're Bristol County.
No,
Okay.
but I
All
think
right.
that was part of the dialogue we were having was because North Attleboro was the large town, so it was a North Attleboro employee that they were sort of sharing.
Hmm.
So they were kind of checking out other opportunities. But
Okay.
yeah, we continue to have every month I go to the managers meetings and I check in with them, and
Okay.
veterans is one of the pieces. I see where people are.
Well, if you could, I mean, just like I said before we forget, flag the
Yep.
right
I
of it.
will
I know
do.
Bob made a point of saying that. I think we're all in agreement with like
That's
to
a
do,
good point. I had forgotten
you know,
about it.
do a little more in that. So that'd be great. You know,
Question.
that's all I had. Great job. Great job. Great news, huh? Big scan.
If we add Dedham,
Mhm.
is Dedham, Bill Mullen, how do you tell, is Dedham larger than Franklin
In terms of services, yes.
in terms of service? Okay. And Franklin's our biggest community now. I mean, and secondly, how do you determine how many places you have to go? I know the standard ones, you think of the supermarket, you think of the scale, but if Joe Jones has one oil truck out of his house, how do you identify him or find him? Is it
We,
just from,
Mr. Chairman, we received like the list from Dedham, but we've also done searches
see.
ourselves, online of and especially things that.
I realize everyone's supposed to register their business at the town,
Correct.
but sometimes, and this
Things
comes
slip
from my
through.
former life as a city clerk, sometimes you'd go into, the police would report that we were known on a police call, and this guy's running a business out of his apartment, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I don't think you could you could run an oil truck, probably a pocket, but
They
I'm just
would-
wondering how we find everybody.
Oil trucks get pulled over frequently by state and other town sealers just to make sure that they're compliant. So
Okay.
those guys are very cautious. Obviously, gas stations don't move around,
Right, you can
supermarkets
find gas
don't move.
stations,
But things that are under the radar can be jewelry stores. The Cash for Gold,
okay.
Cash for Gold.
You found one you can't in a couple
How
months
about,
ago.
do you do the pot shops now?
We do,
Okay,
we do,
they're growing, I mean, there was
literally,
one in Quincy for last year, so it was very successful.
yeah.
In the next 6 months, it's gonna be 3 in Quincy.
There's 4 in Franklin, including 2 grow facilities where
Oh,
we're
really?
there literally all day. And, we grab like a bag of Twinkies on the way out.
So
No, I know,
that's a new industry,
it's a new industry. Yeah.
but, okay, what Commissioner Stady and I think, we think this is a win-win.
Thank you.
We congratulate both of you. Bill Buckley was on this from day one, and
Yeah.
it's really taken a life of its own. I don't, I mean, I think I don't want to run around and hire 6 people and get 3 cars, because I don't think we're ready.
Right, it's,
mean-
it's all, it's built for growth, and we're growing at a manageable pace, but we were also talking with Chairman, we mentioned another few communities who have sealers now, who may be on the back end of their
Yep.
careers, and they have mentioned to me, the managers, well, our backup plan is just, we're gonna call you when this person quits or retires. So, that's good to know that people are planning to join us as well. So I think there's a 12th and a 14th town out there for sure, as we go through the next few years.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
All right, great.
That's
That's a
great,
great,
great work.
Okay,
Really.
on-
Thank you.
on-
Thank you for the
Commissioners?
opportunity.
Okay.
on
Commissioners'
weights and
budget?
measures, any questions? I'll take a vote to take it under consideration.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, all in favor? On
Thank you, gentlemen.
RSVP, vote to take it under consideration?
Just one,
Oh.
it's regional services.
It's
All
all
right,
into one,
we want to
yeah.
do it all into one vote, okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Okay. Next is County Commissioner's Office, it's number 6 in the book,
Yes, no, it's behind number 5.
Behind number
3, Mr.
5.
Chair, it's very straightforward. You see the salary page is level funded at present. There is one decrease in the purchasing officer, the chief procurement officer, because that person is retiring, replacing a tired employee who was at a higher stepping grade. All told, on the second page, you can see our expenditures. They are just about level funded, and professional and technical is up a little. We've tweaked a few areas, but all told, we have about $9,000 decrease in the commissioner's budget. One of the things Director Cronin was looking at, we had such great success with the intern who was downstairs from the treasurer's office last year. As we look at centralizing our records over the summer, there's a lot of digitization, a lot of filing to be done. We could perhaps move this to temporary salaries and explore having
Yeah,
someone
we'll
similar.
discuss that with the treasurer, because we're gonna take this under advisement. anyway.
Yep.
I think it's a good idea.
But
So we
that,
move the intern to us,
that is one path we could take,
okay,
for sure.
and it's $9,000 less than,
All
Last
told,
year.
we're 9,000.
okay. Any questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, this doesn't reflect any kind of a wage adjustment, right?
That's good.
Is that,
Nothing does right now.
is that,
None of-
that'll be
none of the
plugged in
budgets.
afterwards?
But yes,
So what
we're
happens?
carrying
Okay.
that all.
I see, okay.
Salary
Well,
line.
none of our employees are union, so they'll be lost, we'll be lost.
Good luck.
Good
Okay,
last.
I was wondering, it's like, okay, so it's level funded for now.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
Fine.
correct, sir.
not much supposed to say. All right, fine.
Take it under
We totally
advisement.
be quick.
I don't want to keep the school waiting. I'm fine. I'll move, we take it under advisement.
I will second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that concludes budget for today, except the school.
Get the school
And
ready.
there's a standalone budget. What
You
number?
want to take the card? They are
They
the
handed out-
packet.
they gave you a pass.
Yeah.
Do we have a, come on up,
Bill,
gentlemen.
I'll just put this in after I'm done, all right?
Bill, you want to stay? I'll
No,
sit
no,
over here.
sit there, that's fine.
I don't mind.
I've got to go check the Zoom anyway.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Okay,
All right. let's do it.
agricultural school
We could be
budget.
quicker than those guys.
We have Superintendent John Martin and our business
Last
manager,
time for you.
John Wallace.
Yeah.
And we have,
Yes, you have a handout, which
we
is
have a handout.
hand numbered, so we can follow along the pages. That sometimes helps,
Yeah,
right? Because we are numbered in the
Show
corner.
me a copy.
Okay, so we've got this handout. It's got
I do.
the
I have,
pages numbered, so we can
Great,
follow along.
right.
First of all, thanks for letting us come by and give you, face to face, ideas about why we did what we did in our budget and how our numbers are working. Like we usually do, we talk about the principles that we put the budget together. We're definitely holding headcount flat. And we're also holding all of our discretionary expenses flat. So you will see that when we get into the details. I mean, the only increases that we have this year in our budget are salaries for our individual employees, no new employees, but salaries for individual employees, and indirect costs being higher, which, come from the county directly, and it's mostly retirement and healthcare costs, right? So you'll see that when we do a comparison to the prior year. So the only initiatives that that we're going to take this year are in the areas of development. We're going to try to use a consultant to try to raise some money for a project that we're going to come up with for the school as a way to figure out, can we start to unlock additional revenue sources other than from the county and from grants and from our sending districts. We would like to try to get another flow of resources started. John and I have talked about it since we were hired, and we are now going to put a little bit of money behind it. We're going to do it on a consulting basis rather than an employee basis, because we really don't know. We don't want to make a commitment to an employee, but we're going to look into possibly hiring somebody to run a program for us. It would be a defined amount of money, and it would be a defined activity. In other words, we would say we would like to renovate a building, or we'd like to replace the greenhouses, or we'd come up with a project, and then we would hire somebody to help us raise the funds for that project so that we can pay for the whole thing.
Target specific goals.
Yeah.
That aren't being funded currently, and therefore, and you'd like to tackle, and that'd be something people get behind. Or whatever.
We feel there's people out there who'd be willing to give.
Yeah.
They just don't know that either that we need the money or what the money would be targeted for. So we're excited about the possibilities. We did mention it at a trustee meeting a couple months ago. Maybe it was late fall, early winter. And Mark Parrish had jumped all over it. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, pro or con?
Pro.
Okay.
He believes.
Yeah, director of development of some sort.
Okay.
Right. We're going to stick our toe in with a consultant, though, not with an employee.
Right.
And then we are also going to hire somebody to help us with our energy analysis of our energy usage, because we spend over $500,000 in energy for the school. And on two fronts, we want to reduce our carbon footprint. We are committed, because the state's committed to reducing carbon use in all of the government. And so we feel like this would be a smart use of money to hire, again, a consultant who would analyze our energy uses and make suggestions for us on how we could reduce our energy costs. I firmly believe that this would be something that would pay for itself in a very
Can't
short
you
period
get
of
that
time.
through like Eversource? Or
Eversource will do some
You'll
things for
think,
you, but that's
right.
mostly for homeowners. That's mostly
Okay,
for analyzing existing buildings and trying to figure out. This is going to be broader. It would have more of a green energy component, not just to save energy and reduce your bill. Plus, this would go across utilities. So you'd be talking about gas, and you'd be talking about electric, and we have a little bit of propane, and we buy gasoline and diesel fuel. So it would be across a bunch of different providers. It wouldn't just be, for instance, Eversource. We wouldn't just be dealing with Eversource products.
Sounds good.
So those are what I would call the initiatives. They're modest. I mean, we're in the middle of our strategic plan.
Yeah.
So when the strategic plan's done, I think for FY27, we might have directions that come out of the strategic plan of stuff we want to spend money on. But for now, the strategic plan is obviously not complete. So, and the budget does need to be complete. So we're just going to go forward with these two rather modest initiatives. Combined, just tens of thousands of dollars combined.
Right.
And I think, again, there's a chance for both of them to more than pay for themselves. So obviously the development person you would hire under the idea that they would raise some multiple of what you're paying them for the school, right? And that's the way your contract with them would work is, we're going to have a program to raise $200,000 and we're going to pay you $50,000. And that's the way it would work. So hopefully you're not ever spending money and not getting a return. It's always that you have a goal in mind, and that person signs up to raise that amount of money. So I'm going to get those numbers exactly right. I don't know exactly what we would have to pay for an effort for one person for 1 year to do a project for us, an individual project. But I know there are people out there that do this and love this kind of work. And I feel like they would look at the Aggie as like
ripe fruit sitting there on the ground because we've been around for 100 years. We've got alumni of all ages, all stages of life, and we have really never asked them for money. Never asked them for money. And I have experience with this in my charter school days. If you have a project that's tangible that people can look at and say, I was part of getting that roof built, or I was part of getting the greenhouses replaced, or I was part of, revising the superintendent's house, whatever it is. People like that kind of thing. They like to be able to see their money that they.
So they'd be like
school.
more independent contractor people.
Yes, yeah.
It wouldn't be employees.
No, this would not
of
be
the
an
Aggie
employee.
school.
No.
And as far as the funding, what would it be? I'm using old terminology, but we've got a revolving account. The money
No,
would
no,
go
they
in
would
and
give
pay
the money
for
to the
that.
foundation. They would raise the money, they would give it to the foundation. The foundation would then donate it to the school.
But then how do they get paid?
How does-
How do we pay these people?
Oh, we can pay them
Sure.
directly. We can pay them directly from the school.
Okay, so
We can
they-
hire them as a
Okay, so I'm
consultant.
looking at the big picture. So
Yes.
we still have to appropriate that money.
Yes,
in our
which
budget
is in here, which
to
is in
take care
here.
of them.
Yeah, which is in here.
But we're not really getting it back. We're not, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, say you appropriate 50,000.
Yes.
You need to come up with 50,000, say, for the energy consultant. I'm just making that up. And then he saves you 100,000. Okay, well, that's good.
That's
The
the,
saving helps cancel
Yes,
that out.
sure.
But let's take the other one.
Yeah.
50,000 for someone to raise money, and they raise 200,000.
yes.
But that 200,000 is going to go for a specific building or a
Correct.
roof or something.
Yes, it would.
So that doesn't really cancel out that 50. You're down
No,
50.
no,
Right,
but effectively you've paid $50,000 to get a $200,000 project done or a $250,000 project done. So that's what you're
And
doing.
then that's money that we don't have to spend out of a capital
Right.
fund or
Okay.
in some other way
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And I'm with you.
appropriate.
I support the idea. And Sue, same thing
Yeah.
on the picture though. You're still out 50 grand.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
It's a
you
good
budget.
point. Yeah.
You know, it's like even in a hire an employee, independent person, you still need like that money like front money. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're speculating or anticipating that this will, in the long run, still save us money because we're not going to have to use money out of our regular budget necessarily
To tackle that.
to tackle a
I
project.
mean, the other way we do it, where if you lowered your capital thing or something like that, and then the books it kind of wash it out. But I'm getting beyond myself. Yeah. All right. All right.
All right, so those are the principles. The risks, there are pretty much the typical risks of any plan in that we don't know about tuition. Tuition, out of county, in county has always been an issue for the school, and that will continue. Second thing is, we did add the special education for in-county cities and towns. So to give you guys a little bit of feedback, especially you, Richard, because you were interested in this when it was proposed in the meeting, we got probably a higher level of interest from that announcement that we were going to do that than previous announcements than when we had talked about tuition and even when we'd increased tuition. However, now that 2 weeks has gone by, I would say there has been no negative feedback. It's mostly been inquiry. How does this work? Is this for every student? Is this in addition to the other thing? And when we walked people through that, the few people that have asked, or the question often was, well, how many special education students do I have? Because they don't know. So we tell them, well, you currently have 4 and one of them's a senior. So you might have 3 next year, but you might get new ones from the freshman class. They sort of, they seem to have reconciled themselves.
I think
to
honestly,
the way it works.
people are going to look at it in different ways, with all due respect. But the main thing is they probably want the number as soon as possible.
Mhm.
That's all. Because the towns are getting ready for their own town meeting
Right.
or vote, and they need to get that number crunched in.
Correct.
So that's the main thing is get it out there, like you said.
Right.
You had a letter ready to go out, didn't you?
Yeah, we had
Well,
letter
that's
that,
how we
we
voted
did
it.
it that night.
I know.
We sent the letter out that night. We went back
But
and sat
that's
there
fine.
till later. 9:30
I'm all
at night,
about
sent the letter.
communication. Let it out there,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's one thing, Richard, that we found out is it sounds weird, but the money is almost less important than the certainty. What they really want to know is they just want to know how to put their budget together.
Right.
It's almost like they'd rather have $5,000 of guaranteed expense than $10,000, but they're not sure whether they're going to get 0 or 10,000. That just drives them nuts. So
things are all relative. And if you got a town that has a $60 million, $70 million, $80 million budget, and you're looking at your cost for the Aggie school, which might be 10 or 20 or 30,000, it's all relative. It's just that they need to know
Yeah.
what it's about. That's
Yeah.
all. So yeah.
okay.
Anyway, that's good.
And we're in the midst of contracts, not only the normal teacher's contract, but also a support unit contract. So we have two contracts. This has never happened at the Aggie, right? The support unit contract is brand new. So we have even more uncertainty than usual. Normally we have the teacher's contract. We have two contracts. Now, maybe different than these other groups, but we've already built in what we expect that cost of living or what the result of those contracts in here. That's what I understood from John Cronin we were supposed to do, is take an estimate. We weren't supposed to do it by person, but we were supposed to do it on an individual line. So there's an individual line in there that says, this is what I think the teacher's raise is going to be. This is what I think the support unit raise is going to be. That's reflected in here. That's the way I understood we were supposed to do this. And I think I confirmed that with Phil. Is that's the way this is going to be done. So just so you, when you see our numbers, you understand that an estimate of that cost of living increase is included in these numbers.
It is.
It is included in these numbers. It's
Okay.
not included for each individual person, Joe, because
No, I
there's
understand.
100 people and I can't do this and then have to reverse
I'm not
100
going
people.
to. That's the way
So,
it is. I don't wanna-
I'm pretty sure that that's what John Cronin's directions were.
I'm not doubting John. He's not here to talk himself. He's sick.
I'm
Right.
sure he's got a figure in mind. You know, Joe.
Right.
But,
But-
yeah,
but
well,
the-
everything we do here, we're gonna take into consideration.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So you have the risks. The only other risk that I would say is new is that we do have turnover in the superintendent position. So
Right.
you have that potential salary change. You have any add-ons of any other changes that take place in the school as a result. Especially if you have an internal candidate, then obviously you have to replace the internal candidate with a different person. That you have to figure out a salary for. So there's just a tiny little bit. Do I think it's going to cost us a lot of money? No, I don't think it's going to cost us a lot of money, but I don't have a ton of experience either.
Mhm.
So just my gut says it shouldn't cost a lot of money. And teacher and administrative turnover actually works typically a little bit, oftentimes differently. Teacher turnover almost always results in a less expensive teacher as a replacement because you're generally dealing with retirements of people. Administrative turnover, a lot of times that turnover isn't retirements. Those turnover is just normal churn in the job, and then you're subject to the market. If the market is up and salaries are up, you may end up replacing somebody for equal to or even more than they left. You know, teachers' retirements are, for the most part, teacher departures are for the most part retirements. So then there's always room to save money, and you will typically save money. And this budget will anticipate some savings.
Does your budget anticipate certain teacher retirements?
Yeah,
That's
the
fine,
four
yeah.
teacher retirements that we're familiar with are
Right.
reflected
So
in this
this
budget
year,
and
yeah.
their replacements.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So if you go to page 3, there's the detail of the income and expense. But what I want to draw your attention to is the bottom left, which is our surplus. Our surplus is only around $200,000. That might seem a little familiar to you. It's very close to last year's number. Last year's number was $189,000, so practically the same number. So that would be less than or equal to about 1% of our revenue and expense. John Cronin's goal, dream, ideal would be somewhere in the 5% range. And I think Mark Parrish talked about that in the past too. So this is, again, a sort of a break-even budget. I would say this doesn't really generate a surplus for us, but it's not a negative number, obviously. And
Right.
typically we've exceeded these results. So every year that I've been here, except for the first one, which is the timing of a payment of money, we generally exceed the result that's reflected there. There's also going to be a capital expense too, so we can get to that at the end. So this doesn't reflect capital. This is just our operating result. So I'll talk about capital the next page. Next page, page 4. Here's where we talk about relative to the prior year, right? So this is about expense growth or lack of expense growth. And you will see if you look at the line that's in the expenses. So let's just deal with revenue. Revenue, we have a revenue going up about 3%, right? And that's half of it is tuition and half of it is support in other areas, including the county increasing their support by 2.5%, which they have done every year since I've been here, and some other things that are accruing to our benefit, including support by the state. So 3% growth in revenue. And if you look all the way at the bottom where you have total expenses, you'll see 3% growth in expenses, right? So that's kind of equal. Those are equal to each other. But if you want to break down our growth in expenses, you'll see, if you look at that first group of expenses, you'll see there's a $400,000 increase in that first group of expenses. If you guys see the 398, right? 398 and the $400,000 growth of expenses. Then if you go down a little lower, you'll see $200,000 in the indirects, right? 201 in indirects in that same column at the bottom, almost bottom of the same column, you'll see $200,000 of increase in indirect expenses. So those two together are $600,000. So that's the whole increase that we have here, right? The middle, which is what I would call discretionary, contractual supplies, obligations, and equipment, that's not going up at all. That's flat. You will see that $5,311. So basically, there's no increase in the decision-making ways of spending money that we're doing here. All of our increases, either people's salaries or it's indirect expenses that we're getting from the county, we have basically no control over.
Mhm.
And retirement and medical dominate those expenses there. All right.
Yep.
So I think we can look at ourselves in the mirror, and we can also look at our sending cities and towns and say we are doing a good job of controlling the expenses of the school, right? And the only thing that could make this better would be to have less employees. There's really nothing else to do unless you start really cutting back on the things that you've traditionally spent your money on. And a lot of it is not discretionary truly, because it's heat, it's utilities, the things that we can't decide not to do.
Mhm.
So I do feel comfortable that we are controlling the expenses of the school, which is our ethical, moral obligation here, since a lot of this is paid dollar for dollar by sending cities and towns.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes,
I
sir.
noticed an overtime on here, and it seems teachers don't get overtime, correct?
Correct.
The teachers, okay.
No.
Because that seems, actually, it seems small to me, so
Yeah,
that would be
support staff.
some,
Yeah, that would
the
be
maintenance
support
people.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody, yeah, and we
I
do
see.
not have an environment with a lot of overtime, as you can see here.
No,
It's very small.
that's why I wondered.
Yeah.
I didn't think teachers got overtime, but okay.
Yeah.
Where's your expenses for like heat and light? And
That's all in contractual,
that's
because
contractual.
it's subject
Okay.
to contracts, yeah.
Okay, actually, so really it didn't go up that much for last year, right?
No, well, it's
I mean-
because we're having savings in other areas.
Okay.
The heat itself, if you went into the detail line, would be higher, the transportation would be higher, but we have savings in other areas.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
John has a handle on that, however, we haven't broadcast this, but the county is in the throes of a larger than usual request from the retirement board.
Mhm.
The retirement numbers are
Yep.
fudged up. That doesn't affect the teachers, although probably the teachers unions are fighting it too. But
Mhm.
we got a disappointing, every year we pay our fair share.
Yeah.
Retirement. We got some old obligations from the sheriff's department when it left, which is choker. The numbers this year were a little scary. And I mean, it does, but you probably get 40 employees in our retirement system,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
That's your maintenance people.
Yes.
So that number's, we gotta fight with that. So we don't know what it is yet, because it's a back and forth. Retirement board and us, mainly John.
Yeah.
And he'll get it done before we print the budget, because we have to.
All right, so the next page is tuition. You guys are pretty familiar with this. I just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of lines. All right, in the lower left little grid there, you'll see that there's the $3,883, which is the charge. It's in bold. It's the charge for in-county special education, right? So that's what you guys approved last meeting, right? And you'll see the prior year that's zero. Right, because you'll see in FY26, you'll see the 3,883, and the prior year it's zero, right? Because we just initiated that charge this year. And then down below, you'll see the out of county special education, which is twice that, 7,765.
Right.
Now, I have had one kind of extensive conversation about this with one town, which is Walpole, and they did express some appreciation for the fact that we weren't charging 100% of the special education, which we were allowed to charge, and we were only charging 50%. So we did get some credit for that. And Jim Johnson said, "Oh, so you could charge us the 7,000 if you wanted to." And I said, "Yeah, we can charge you the 7,000 if we wanted to, but we're going to phase that in because we understand that
Okay.
is something for you guys to absorb." And he appreciated that. But
We're doing 50%?
50% this
Okay.
year, yes. So an interesting thing to look across is on the right-hand side there, where you see all of the actual gross numbers of tuition. So you see FY '26 tuition, you see FY '25 tuition, FY '26 tuition being 11,450,000, last year being 11,150,000, right? So tuition has only gone up year over year by $300,000. That's all. It's only gone up by $300,000. And the in-county special education number, which you will see there, is $267,000. You see that on the left-hand side just up. So basically the entire increase in tuition this year is practically coming from our decision to increase begin to charge special education in county, right? Without that, it would be flat. Why would it be flat? It'd be flat because the percentage of out-of-county students is going down, right? So even though we're raising the out-of-county tuition and we're raising the in-county tuition, the combination of those two, absent the special education change, would result in no increase in tuition for the school, which would be basically intolerable, right? If you think back at our surplus, the surplus is $200,000, right? So now I'll say 100% of that surplus comes from this special education charge of $267,000. Had we again not charged this $267,000, we would be in a deficit position and we'd have to be looking elsewhere to save money. So that shows you the importance, I think, of making this special education change. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir because it's already been approved, but I just at that time, at that night, I don't think you could fully appreciate the significance of that for the school's bottom line, right? We were looking at it correctly from the point of view of the cities and towns and how would they receive it and what would this mean to them. But I just wanted you guys to see the effect of that increase, and that will obviously go up. Our plan would be to ask for it to be, increased to 75% next year. That's for you guys to decide whether you want to do that.
Why not next year?
Yeah, next year.
Let's get through this year.
Yeah,
Get through this year, please.
Joe, you.
Well, that's a good point. I always wondered, and I didn't want to verbalize it because I didn't feel confident, but I'm more confident now. God bless the out of county, because the practical matter is they carry disproportionate.
Yeah.
But I always thought, the day's going to come, what would you say if you got in a public forum or even man-to-man to a superintendent or a selectman or a mayor who said, you mean to tell me you're taking X amount of kids from out of county and you can't get 2 more kids from Quincy and 2 more kids from Ridgely? I always wrestled with that moment. Hasn't happened yet, but it's a good question. But if this proportion is coming down of out of county kids,
Correct.
we're
Yes,
doing the
it
best
is.
we can. But the
Yes.
fact of the matter is, we have a record here of taking care of a number of out of county people.
Yeah.
And eventually, those numbers, I think, will ultimately reverse themselves.
Yeah. Okay, because
That's
I mean,
that's the direction we're heading.
in a
I
way,
think that's the
it
direction
is
we
our
have to
mission,
head.
everything. I don't like,
That's right.
but I hope they don't go away out of county people.
No, but then we'll have to have another conversation about, okay,
Yeah, how to balance it.
bingo.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Right.
I think we're going in the right direction, but it's tough.
Okay. So the next pages from 6 to 12 or 11 are just the detailed expenses, right? So I don't want to go over detailed expenses for any particular line. I mean, obviously I'll answer a question of anything that stands out for you guys, but generally you've been given the overview. So this is just the support for the numbers you've already seen. If there's individual lines that interest you, I don't feel like I need to point out any line except for on page 7. If you look at the top right hand of page 7, you on page
Yep.
7, Joe? You are. You're there, Joe. Right there it says raise placeholder for teachers and raise placeholder for staff. So that's what I mentioned is that so there's the better part of $300,000 put in this budget that's for the eventual result of our negotiations, our contract negotiations, right? We didn't do it by person, but we did it for the whole school in one line, or at least in 2 pieces, right? One for the teachers and one for everybody else, right? So that represents every person that works at the school, whether they're in the teachers union, whether they're in the support union, or whether they're not in a union. All of them, we made an assumption about where we're going to end up with cost of living, and we put it in there. I just wanted to draw your attention to that line. I already told you I did it. I already told you that I believe that was the direction I received from John Cronin, but that's in there. All right. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is just the very last page, page 13, where we can talk about capital. Right, because we do have an estimated capital expense for this year. It's the very last page, Joe.
So you had asked about this at the last.
Right,
trustee
I think,
meeting.
even if it's all zeros, I think if someone asks you, you pull it out, say, yeah, we have the capital needs, we don't know how we're gonna fund them, but here's what we need, because I
Exactly.
think it's fair to do that.
So we've done this before.
We're trying to do that at the golf course too, because they need a sprinkler system, and it's over $1 million, but it's
But at the last.
very
I mean,
key, and he
Oh,
talks
wait,
about it all the
at the
time.
last meeting we had, I asked a question about what is our surplus? And I thought you said we had a surplus of like $2 million of surplus money
From prior years, yeah.
from
do.
prior
We
years.
do, yep.
So why aren't we using some of that surplus to address some of these capital programs?
We could. There's nothing and no one preventing us from doing it other than John and I suggesting it
Mm-hmm.
and you guys approving it.
Okay.
But not everything here that's a need or a want or a potential is something that we want to start working on now, that we believe we should do now. And there are some things that are contingencies. For instance, we have plant science HVAC upgrade for $250,000. Well, we don't want to do that until we fix the roof of the plant science building and the windows of the plant science building.
Mhm.
So we do have some things that are contingencies. Other things we just there's a throughput issue of the school. We can only do so many projects at the same time with the staff that we have. It mostly falls on Pete Murphy to run these projects in addition to doing the job that he has to do of maintaining the school. So every year we feed him 2, 3, 5 projects and say, hey, Pete, could you get this roof fixed? And could you get this ladder fixed? And could you get the HVAC updated in camp? And you can get, this is this year's projects, right? This roof fixed, this chimney removed, this ladder replaced, this storefront, and then the HVAC updated in Kemp Hall and the update in administration building. So that's probably not as many projects as Pete can handle. That's probably more projects than Pete can handle. So I fully expect we'll get to the end of the year and not have done all of those things because there's only so much time that Pete has and so much time he can expend in seeking bids and seeking contractors and then overseeing what they do and then making sure they do it right. So there's only so much we can get accomplished in every year. So John and I are picking things that we feel like these are the priorities for next year. We said in the past we were focusing on safety and on potentially energy savings, things that we could get a dollar back for the money that we're spending, get resources back for what we're spending. So next year we do need a new bus. So we're going to, and we do need to replace our vehicles with electric vehicles whenever possible. As soon as the vehicle, nobody is saying take a perfectly functioning gasoline vehicle and get rid of it for electric purposes. But what the guidance is when you have to replace something, that's when you make the change to electric, when you have to replace something. You're going to spend the money anyway for a replacement of your bus. So we have 14 passenger buses.
When you say slowly, they'll all go to electric.
Right. And so we're going to.
It's the way to go,
We
right?
need a new bus. One of our buses is really old. We only.
You're gonna need the electric stations.
Yeah. We're going to need the electric charging station.
Drive it. There it is.
You're toying with it. I mean, we've got you in there, right?
We can survive with one bus, and just park it near a building and have a charging station on the side of a building. But the long-term solution, is we need to have the charging brought out to where we park all of our buses. And right now we'll have hopefully next year one.
All right, so you're proposing on your page 13,
Yes.
right? If I'm getting this,
Yes.
the cut to the chase. You're proposing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2,
Four.
3, 4, just 4
for a project.
items for fiscal 26 to be tackled as part of the capital.
Yeah.
Am I right on
Yes.
that? Okay, and that would be the van, campus lighting, window repairs, and half of the energy.
the
unit
energy recycling units that are on the roof. We're going to
Okay,
replace
so
2 of
stay
the
with
4
me.
of them.
So 555.
Yeah.
Is that out of that surplus money
$2 million
that I just mentioned, the
Yes.
2 million?
Yeah.
So, okay, it's not going to affect our budget. We've got that surplus.
Yes.
We just tap into that,
Right.
and that comes over here.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Now, last question. I would think
Go ahead.
you're probably going to agree with me on this. I
Okay.
hope it would help. I would help. No, I would
Sure,
help.
but
I
I
think.
think I know the question. Go
I
ahead.
think on all these items here, which are great, it would help me as a commissioner if you laid out priorities like you'd like to see this in year 1, in year 2, or fiscal
Okay.
20, I'm not trying to make you more work, but this could be 50, 26, 27, 28. Just lay out a plan. You know, I think Peter would like that too. And it's not gonna, not this cast in stone,
That was my point.
but we want a plan because I think it helps us to see, hey, you know what? Here's our reason why. We're gonna put on the stand-on blower that might be, 2030 or whatever, but lay them out there. Like, this is great. Fully support this. This is great. I'm with you 100%. And if you get a charitable donation, maybe, again, knock off another one,
That,
right?
that stays, this money
Yeah, which
stays in
is-
our reserve.
Beautiful. 100%.
Yeah.
With you. And of course, we all know the Big Apple. We want the new cafeteria someday.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
the Shea Stady building, or whatever it's going to be called. Well, but no,
This is an aside because
no, that's
I was at the ribbon cutting of the McFarland building before I was commissioner.
wow.
A very cold day.
Mm.
How can, that was not that long ago, and it needs a roof for 286,000
Ooh.
already?
I don't know the details of this,
No, you
but
weren't
keep
here,
in mind that
neither was Joe.
McFarland was an addition to an existing building.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure
Yeah.
whether it's the
Old?
old part of the
Okay.
roof that need to be replaced. That there were
Sound good.
concessions made when it was built that were what we call value engineering, which is a way of saving money from something that's becoming too expensive, more than you've borrowed or more than you have access to.
Right.
So I'm not sure, but Pete knows that. The scary part, because I thought I knew you were going with this, Joe, is the Ag Mac ERV unit replacements, right? Which is down there for $400,000.
Yeah.
That building is 10 years old too. And John and I are both had the same response. How could those things be broken already? How could those things need replaced after 10 years?
We meet with Director of Facilities Murphy once a week.
Yeah.
And this topic comes up very, very regularly. And we ask the question, how can this be
How can
broken
this be-
so soon? And it's just the life expectancy of a lot of these parts and a lot of this machinery. It doesn't last the way it used to. So a boiler,
All right, I'm not being critical but
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah, that's a good question, Joe.
Is the
That
ag
building-
building and roof replacement, is that the McFarland building?
no.
No, that's the
What's-
Ag Mech building itself.
What's ag building? Which one's that? What's it?
That's
Yeah.
the furthest one down on the property where the giant garage is, where the welding shop is, where the wood shop is. It's past the horse barn. It's the last building on the real property
Okay.
per se, proper, well, or before the livestock barn.
And how critical is that one? Does that need to be,
It's listed as.
it's listed, but.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on. Well, we're beginning to deal with it next year. We're
By the way, not to
$200,000.
mention the fact that our bond is in bad shape, we know that. And hopefully we get money from that, but we don't know.
Yes.
That's in limbo somewhere too,
Famous
We-
part.
you know.
We have some money.
getting back to your initial question,
Go ahead.
Richard,
Yes, sir.
we're trying to be conservative
Yeah,
with that reserve.
right.
Could we fund 3, 4, 5 more projects out of that
You
money?
probably
Sure we could.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then we wouldn't have a reserve. So
Right.
when we have an emergency,
Okay.
we're going to be really out of
Well,
luck.
no, but I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that. It's in my head now. I got it. I don't want to spend it all either, but now I know that's what this is going for. So in the capital program, we've got something which we have to approve, and then the advisory board has to approve and all that.
And I want them to be able to
Makes
pull
sense.
it out when Charlie Ryan says, well, here we have one,
Right,
you know,
right,
what
right,
we can
yeah.
afford is another
Right.
budget.
And if we laid it
Give
out,
us more,
here's what we're looking at. You know,
that's
look,
right, that's
Show
what
it,
I
show,
want.
again, let them see, let us see. This is maybe projected for fiscal 27, fiscal 28,
Yeah.
fiscal 29, even a
Yeah.
3-year thing. I said most towns do, I think most towns do 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
on their capital, right? Most of the time, And then things come up. We know that. If anybody in the game knows that things come up, but that would help,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're successful in development, that could really be a not a game changer, but could really make a difference in this list.
Yeah.
If we become successful in
Oh, yeah.
development. And that's why John and I think it's worth taking that chance this year.
So did you put
Spend
that
some money.
person in the budget?
Yes, yes.
Where'd you put that person? If you
In
mind?
contract services.
Contracted
Under
services,
okay, what, what did it say?
$50,000.
Where was the page?
You will.
Yeah,
You
fair.
mean you'll see it in total on page 4 in the line that says contractual, and we just said added development contractors. We were explicit about that.
Okay.
That's why contracted services went up by $41,000. It's because we added a $50,000 contractor for
Wait, I'm missing
development.
something here. Contract, page 4, right?
Page 4, you have
Yeah.
contractual services. You'll see the $41,950,
Yeah,
and then right next to the right of that, Richard.
ag development, okay.
So yeah, that's in there.
Oh, I see. So it went 2106 to 2148. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Well, okay.
So we're gonna
And
take,
still with all that, we're still showing a slight surplus.
yes,
With that, right? With that
Yes.
in there. Okay.
Yes.
See, that's what my mind was. Good. I'm fine.
And I
Okay.
notice
Yeah.
on the last page here, on the wish list, as I like to call it, you talk about superintendent's house, and it says $100,000.
Yeah, we don't know.
It didn't make the top 10, so to speak.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
Is this without Chairman Yorkis here, I want to reiterate again, during our superintendent search,
not gonna be included.
the house is out.
No, it's out. It's
We
out.
all agree that.
Yeah, that would be,
I mean, we're gonna deal with it, but,
that could be 2029 or 20.
well, not only
But
that,
although again,
it
it depends
it
on what
won't
we're
be
gonna
the
do with the
superintendent's
property.
house.
right, might be something
Right.
else.
It's still gonna be fixed maybe to
Yeah.
be, could be classrooms,
Right.
could be another
it also
person,
could be,
like the farm, yeah,
it could be a different
That's correct.
employee's house.
Okay.
You could maybe move
That's,
the,
that's good.
if you want the
it-
facilities person to have a house, you might move them
I don't
on campus,
disagree that
put
it's
them
probably
there, and
not
deal
habitable.
with the
I agree
house
with
on the
John.
on the top of the hill
Yeah,
up
but
there.
I mean, I wouldn't make that a priority right now.
No,
That's
No,
not-
John and I
No, I
talked about
just-
that, and we
Yeah.
decided, yeah, that goes on the list.
But it should stay, it should stay nestled on the back burner.
Yeah.
But the heat should be on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that it's simmering,
Yeah.
because the longer these buildings are not addressed, the
the
less,
more-
the less of a lifespan they're gonna have.
Yeah,
You know, and
that's right.
either
Okay.
you're gonna
As long
spend
as we're all on the same side of it.
a lot more money trying to rehabilitate them or
I hear you.
reusing the property in some
I
other
hear
way.
you. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so we decided to put those on there with some estimates that we just recently just developed with Pete Murphy, talking about those two
And
houses.
there's another point. Pete lives there, and that's fine. Everything's going fine.
Yeah.
But it'll be addressed when he leaves too.
Correct.
We wouldn't. The next guy might not.
We
But
might not
that's not
offer it,
before
but
us right now.
then we end up with buildings that we do have to maintain. We can't just
Oh,
walk
yeah.
away from them and let them fall apart piece by piece, right? We're gonna have to decide either take it down or invest in it,
Really.
you know?
Every time I drive by
Everything
there, I
makes
think
sense
of
to
an
me
old movie.
Very clear.
It's got that old farmhouse look.
Oh,
because it's
Pete's-
right
Pete's
on the
place?
street. I
Pete's
don't
place?
even know your building. I've
Go
never
back there,
even
put
gone out
mine.
there. But you go by Pete's building, I think of an old movie.
Yeah, you can't miss
Bonnie
Pete's
and
building.
Clyde or
Pete's got a
something.
tremendous location. Some people
Oh,
would
yeah.
love to be in that with a big backyard and you're on top of the hill and you got nobody near you. I mean, it would be.
I think the history of all that is it was part of the jail originally. That we just took it down a couple of years ago. There was
Yeah, dormitory of some type.
a dormer there. They think it was for the kids. The prisoners stayed there during the summer and tilled the field, so to speak. That's the history of all that. That's a
Warden's
long time
house.
ago. Huh?
I don't know who lived there. Yeah, I don't know. It's an old piece of property. And it's an old building and it is in need of update. And Pete's been living there. We haven't gotten inside of it. But when Pete leaves, we're gonna have a decision to make.
Right.
Oh, that's his house too.
That's where Pete
Right,
lives, yeah.
right.
Yes, the one further down.
Right.
On
So
top
we
of-
got a couple to look at.
We'll have to make a decision when he
Huh.
leaves. Are we gonna upgrade it? We're
Yeah.
gonna try to repurpose it for something else that might benefit the school or the
Mm.
county more, which is, maybe you want to help get a tenant in it and take it off the road. I mean, we're paying for the utilities. We're paying for the upkeep of the house, obviously. If you could avoid paying for the utilities and you could get some rent coming in, it might be a decision that you'd want to make and say, this makes more economic sense than us having 3 residences.
Maybe the town of Walpole might want it for something. You never know.
Well, we'd have to offer to them if we wanted to sell it. We'd have to go to the town of Walpole first.
What's that?
Assistant County Director's house.
Oh.
Assistant county director.
Oh, boy. You hear that one?
That's
not being taped,
It's
is
going to
it?
be your expense.
Never.
All right, gentlemen, great job. Well, I
Thank
move
you.
that we take this under advisement.
Yes.
We're
I'll
doing
second it.
all the budgets, but
We'll
fine
send this to
presentation.
John. All right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, nice job.
Thank you.
Really.
Pete,
Thanks,
Really,
guys.
this was
all
great.
right. Thanks.
Do we have
Are we
a
on next
special,
Wednesday
what do you
night?
call it? That thing?
Strategic plan
Yeah.
tonight.
Are we on next
Four.
Wednesday night? No, it's 2 weeks before the,
Oh, we can go to
It's
Murphy's.
the
Okay.
19th.
I think I have
Not
meetings,
Murphy.
3 Wednesdays in a row. And then we have
Who do we have
the
next
superintendent
Wednesday?
meeting, I think, the committee meeting, is
I
meeting
said we
next
have
week.
something to go.
Oh, I don't
I have-
know.
I got
I'm not
no-
part of that.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be over there. I'll see you later on.
See you then.
Yep.
Through
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, just to close out, this is
Okay,
March
thank you.
John, John.
Yeah, sorry, we gotta go. I've gotta-
I know.
Take your time, take your time.
We'll see you.
With you.
This marks the final FY '26 departmental budget presentation. Our Director Cronin and I are working on the indirect costs. As you know, many of them are what they are, as we're given, especially unemployment,
See you later on.
the pension number, which we've had extensive discussion about, as you know.
Wait.
As well as health insurance, which Michelle Labadini has done great work. Mayflower, and she did show there was a study done that we're doing pretty well compared to a lot of other places, especially folks who have Maya. So that'll be forthcoming in our larger budget. But all those things kind of pool together to make our full budget number and our costs. So stay tuned as we say. That's all you have for department.
Okay, so we're on an ongoing budget process here, and we're sticking to our calendar as of now.
So that completes all the budget presentations. Okay,
Good. We'll take it, I'll do our due diligence and further questions and go
And
from
when do we
there.
start voting the budget, Frank?
A couple weeks.
Couple of weeks, okay. Okay.
Number 15,
Second round of
fiscal
opiate agreement?
26, second round of opiate grant awards.
What's that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, as you know, we've been parting now with District Attorney Morrissey to do these opioid grants to communities. We did some earlier in the process. We did one to Randolph. We did a round last year. We did a round in FY24. We've also done one round already in FY25. This will be the second round of grants that we have available to us. Maureen from Michelle's office has been running point on this, and we have, for your approval, grants totaling $12,000 to be divided equally to Town of Brookline, Foxborough Public Schools, the Holbrook Cares Initiative, the Town of Medfield, the Town of Milton, the Town of Norwood, the City of Quincy, and the Town of Stoughton. So again, Maureen Lyden has put all the letters together. She's been tracking all this stuff, and these are the folks.
Did we get
chasing.
that group in what Rentham we were helpful?
That was in the
Franklin
first
or
batch. The
They were in the
Gillies house.
first
That was in the first
Okay,
batch. These are
okay.
folks who we were still waiting for.
Yeah, she got.
Representative,
right?
yeah, okay.
Yeah, good.
All
This
right,
is 8
good.
more. So for your approval.
Okay. So just
So
make a
was a
motion.
vote required on that?
Yeah, to
Move we approve the second round of opioid grants.
another
as presented.
$12,000. Yeah.
Right, how
I'll
much?
second it, all in favor.
$12,000, yeah.
Okay, send the checks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Number 18, vote on electric car charging statements. I spoke to Commissioner Stady. I'd like to have a full board here as well as Director Cronin. He had some comments and so I
Again, but this,
respectfully ask for,
all he's looking
Continuance.
for is, he's looking to just gather information. He needs to go to the place, look at the site,
Mhm.
and then get a copy of the electric bills, more or less for that particular building or area, and then he can do an analysis, and then he can propose a proposal for us.
I'm gonna support it,
Okay,
but I'd like to have it all with the five of us out
Okay.
here.
all right.
Bear in mind that not, our vendors change. It's Eversource here, it's Mass Electric in 2 other courts. I forget, I know Quincy, but we don't have Quincy anymore, but there's one other too. It's a different vendor.
National Grid.
When you get down, I don't know whether it's Stoughton.
Is the National Grid?
Yeah,
Those are
they're
the two big
different.
ones.
We have more than one
Well,
vendor.
so he might be.
That's all right.
Yeah, let's see what happens, that's all.
Okay,
All right.
can we extend it a week?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
17, report of the county director.
Through you, Mr. Chair, while Mr. Stady and I's voice last, just a couple of quick things. We're closely tracking, been speaking to a number of my colleagues today, even about the remote meeting matter. We know it expires at the end of this month. We all 3 of us as members of the Mass Association of School Committees did get a sort of push email a few weeks ago saying, hey, talk to your legislators. We have had some good conversations with legislators. From my experience, as it was last time, this may be right up to the end.
Yeah.
So just as
I got a feeling they're so overwhelmed with everything going on, and they are,
they are.
that this is so off the grid,
Exactly.
but someone has to step up and do it,
That's correct.
because it's gonna run out.
And so, we're going to look at on a 2-pronged way to deal with this. I would strongly urge you to make every effort to be participating here, because in the event that we don't, we're unable to do a Zoom hybrid meeting, we just do a regular meeting from here.
Mhm.
And while there is, we could look into a policy to have remote participation of board members. There are some opportunity, I forget the general law chapter, you can do that, but you need a quorum of the board has to be present
Yeah, you have to go
physically.
back and read all
You
the
have to
information.
read all the information, you have
into
to
that.
create a policy. So that's, that might be something we can, kind of poke around. I've been looking into a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to
But-
me in the local area, there was a member of the Canton board who was traveling a little bit to New
And
Hampshire.
you could do that.
And you could do it. This was before hybrid,
How-
COVID.
Right.
He
Which
had,
is-
because he would zoom in. They would have a tablet at the board.
Yeah.
And he would talk to the tablet.
Right,
And his vote counted, everything else.
However,
But-
that only allows for the board members to remotely participate.
Right.
So all of our friends, as Chairman Chase says, out in Zoomland, like there's no, from my reading, I don't believe there's anything, when I look at some of the policies, these communities who have that, there's
Yeah.
no opportunity to have other people kind of participate fully remotely from the public as well. So, and we like that. I mean,
Let's just get the bill. I mean, let's
Yeah.
contact what we're going to
yeah,
contact.
we're continuing
And
to
have our,
follow. We had a conversation with MMA the other day. We brought this up as well.
Yeah.
And so that it's on
Yeah.
people's radars. I did kind of give you in the Weights and Measures Regional Services Budget Report a update on what we're doing there. We're working with Sam in the IT department to get the advisory board members' emails. We talked about that for a while. We've just begun to sort of look at the timeline of we'll send those out a couple weeks before the packet goes out, so people have some time to get that. Later in the week, I'm going to begin working with Sam's staff to look at some of the sort of website data tracking for how many people we have at different parts of our website, see if we can do some analytics. That's in its infancy, but some exciting IT stuff as well. And with that, Mr. Chairman, those are all the updates I have presently.
Good job. Okay,
Thank you.
good meeting.
You got strategic planning tonight?
Yeah, 4 o'clock. So I gotta.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Number 18, emergency items, topics the chair did not reasonably anticipate. I have none.
Yeah,
You have none? You have none?
no,
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to be adjourned at 2:37. Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
All right,
This meeting is adjourned.
good job.
Thank you very much.
Good job.